What's up, everybody? So, I want to talk a little bit about, I always try to touch on, what you're seeing in the news and what's happening. So, and give my opinion. So, I wanted to talk on this whole tariff thing. And the reason I want to talk about it is because, as I studied philosophy and law and built the organization, the Brotherhood, and then sent it to the military for them to exercise domestically for the Marines and the Army. There's some interesting questions that keep coming on the news. They keep talking about all this stuff. They're talking about tariffs, and they're talking about all these different countries that are lining up to enter trade deals, right? We're doing trade deals. Well, here's my question. What happened to all the standing trade deals? Where are they? Where are the trade deals that we already had? Or do we not have that government anymore? See, the way trusts work is they're like carriers, right? So they carry things or they hold things and they can have things put on them when they're a trust. Now, originally, the NGOs that we talk about were like, oh, it's an NGO, it's an NGO, it's an NGO. In 1776, you would have called an NGO a church or a community or a private membership organization. Not registered under federal law, not registered with an IRS, not registered in the federal system, because it was a ministry, which is where real property, untaxable real property can go. So it's a carrier, right? And it's in the private sector. So what they, as a community, right? So what they've done is they've created these foundations. So this says foundation, association. If you go to the store and it says donate to such and such foundation, that's an NGO, and that's an American church in the private sector. Okay? They work off of funding and grants. They don't operate in tender or credits and debits. Okay? It's a different currency. All right, so the question is, where did all the trade deals go? What happened to all the standing trade deals that were there? They were federal trade deals. They were maritime law. That's why we had port authorities. But now the ports are United States ports and American ports, and those ports are controlled by the Navy and the Coast Guard. Not port authorities, not British or Indian port authorities. You understand? The reason all of these countries are coming to set up trade deals is because the United States, not the United States Federation, the United States, not the federal Constitution, the actual American Republic Constitution, works off of excises and tariffs. They don't operate in federal law. Okay? That's why the federal judges are being overridden. That's why they're ignoring and doing whatever they want. Because the military is operating domestically. And they have to set up new trade deals. What happened? After the Treaty of Paris, when we negotiated peace with England, Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson got instructions, because they were the ambassadors, to set up commerce treaties and treaties of amity. So Treaty of Amity, which is friendship, and commerce were what they were given instructions for. And they were given spans of 7 years, 10 years before they have to be renegotiated. What's happening right now is that the previous federal treaties are no longer active and we're on a new jurisdiction in a new trust. So we have to renegotiate all of our trade treaties under the United States because it's in a new jurisdiction coming through the Gulf of America. And that's also why on the news, you don't hear them talk about the United States anymore. They keep saying America, 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 because that's a new trust. And it's being administered by the military. So the Navy, the U.S. Coast Guard handles our maritime section division, which is our federal division. The Navy handles our commercial. The Army handles our territorial and national. And the Marine Corps handles our land. Okay? Our lands and our roads and our streets. That's the Marine Corps jurisdiction. The Air Force handles our basically chancery law, our canon law, and Space Force handles our common law, which is the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence and the preamble to the Constitution. So that's what I see, and that's pretty much how I come to understand all these different layers of jurisdictions that are opening up. And all these different courts, the F-47 carrier platform is the platform for air and space. So that is where American canon law and American common law, which is the Bill of Rights and we the people, and American law over the land, superior to statutory law, to federal law, to commercial law, will be exercised, and that's where those courts will be. And that's where individuals of power and authority will have the facts declared that their behavior was poor, and they will be dealt with directly. That's the jurisdiction. It'll be under the Air Force, or it'll be under Space Force, depending on the situation. So that's what I see, and I wanted to share. So God bless and Godspeed.